Have you ever opened up a spreadsheet and just stared at it? That feeling of blank grid panic? Yeah, we've all been there. But today, we're going to change all that. We are going to totally demystify Excel, right from square one. And you know how we're going to do it? By building something you can actually use right away. We're going to build a simple personal budget in just a few minutes. Honestly, it's the best way to learn the ropes. So let's just dive right in. Okay, so what is Excel, really? Well, at its heart, it's just a super smart spreadsheet. It's built to do two things and do them brilliantly. First, it organizes all your stuff, your data, into these nice, neat rows and columns. And second, it can perform calculations on that data, like in the blink of an eye.
All right, before we jump into building our budget, we need to know our way around, right? So let's take a quick tour of the Excel workspace.
So when you first open Excel, this is what you see, this big grid. Think of it like your digital canvas. I know, it can look a little intimidating at first, but trust me, every single part of this screen has a purpose, and it's all there to help you work with your data. See that big area at the top of the screen? That's called the ribbon, and it's basically your main command center. Pretty much all the tools you're ever going to need, from formatting your text to creating cool formulas, are all organized right here. For today, we're mostly going to be hanging out in the Home tab.
Okay, so the grid itself is made up of all these little boxes, and we call them cells. This is where all your information is going to go. Now here's the most important thing to get your head around. Every single cell has its own unique address. It's just the column letter and the row number put together. So that very first one in the top left corner, that's A1. And believe me, this is super important because it's how we're going to tell Excel exactly which numbers to use when we start making formulas.
All right, tour's over. Time for the fun part. Let's start plugging some data into these cells and actually build the foundation for our budget.
And this is super easy. All you do is click a cell to select it, type whatever you need, like rent or a number like 500, and then just hit enter. Simple. And hey, what if you make a mistake? No big deal. Just click back on the cell and press the F2 key. That lets you edit what's inside without having to retype the whole thing. Super handy.
Okay, so you're going to run into this for sure. You'll type something long like monthly phone and internet bill, and it just spills right over into the next cell, looking all messy. The fix for this could not be easier. Just select the cell with the long text, go up to the Home tab on your ribbon, and click the Wrap Text button. And boom, just like that. Look at that. The text stacks up all nice and neat inside its own cell, and the row even gets taller automatically to make sure it all fits. It's a really simple trick, but man, it makes a huge difference in keeping your sheet clean and easy to read.
Okay, we've got our labels in, things are looking good, but now it's time to get to the real magic of Excel. We're talking about formulas. This is the moment your spreadsheet stops being just a list and turns into a seriously powerful, dynamic calculator.
And listen up, because this is the golden rule of Excel. If there's one thing you remember, make it this. All formulas must start with an equal sign. That little equal sign is like a switch. It tells Excel, hey, stop just holding this data and start doing some math. Now, Excel is pretty smart, but it's not a mind reader. It follows the exact same order of operations you probably learned back in math class. So look at this example. Without parentheses, Excel does the division and multiplication first, and you get 30. But when you add parentheses, you take control. You're forcing it to do the addition part first, and that completely changes the result to 36. So the big takeaway here is super simple. When you're not sure, just use parentheses to tell Excel exactly the order you want things calculated in.
Now sure, you can type out any formula you can dream of, but for the most common task of all, just adding up a column of numbers, Excel has this awesome little shortcut. It's called AutoSum.
So instead of you having to type out a whole long formula, you just click in the empty cell right below your numbers. Then you go up to the Home tab and click this button right here. It looks like a big E, but it's actually the Greek letter sigma. And check this out. Excel just highlights the numbers it thinks you want to add and literally writes the formula for you. It is such a massive time saver.
All you have to do is hit enter, and there's your total. That's it. No typing, no chance of a typo in your formula. Just one click, and you've got your sum.
Okay, so our budget totally works. It's functional, but it could look a little better, right? Let's just spend a quick minute on formatting to make our data look really clean and professional. I've got 3 super quick formatting tips for you. First, if your columns are too skinny, just grab the line between the column headers and drag it. Easy. Second, if you want to center your titles, just use the alignment buttons on the Home tab. And third,
To make your numbers actually look like money, use the number format box to add a currency symbol. I'm telling you, these tiny little tweaks make a huge difference.
So, look at that. You basically got the basics down. You can enter data, you can write formulas, and you can make it all look great. But honestly, this is just scratching the surface. Let's take a quick peek at what else is possible once you really get the hang of these fundamentals.
Okay, so imagine this scenario. You've got a list of property values, and next to them, the commissions you earned. Now, what if you wanted to add up the commissions, but, and here's the catch, only for properties that sold for over a certain price? You don't have to go through and pick them out by hand. No way.
Excel has a function for exactly that, and it's called SUMIF. Let's just break this formula down real quick. The first part is the range Excel is going to check, in this case, our property values. The second part, you'll see it's in quotes, that's our condition. We're telling it to only look for values greater than $160,000. And then the final part tells Excel which numbers to actually add up if it finds a match.
And bam, there's the result, 63,000, just instantly. Excel scanned the entire list, found every single property worth over 160 grand, and added up only their commissions. This right here, this is where Excel goes from being useful to being an absolute powerhouse. It automates tasks that would be so boring and take forever to do by hand. So there you have it. In just a couple of minutes, we went from a totally blank grid to a working budget, and we even got a little glimpse of some more advanced stuff. You now have all the fundamental building blocks you need to start organizing and analyzing pretty much any data you want. So really, the only question left is, what are you going to build first?